On this edition of City Talk, from the Department of Public Works, Bill Crean. From the Office of Management and Budget, Patrick Cornell. And from the Pittsburgh Police Department, Officer Christine Luffey. City Talk starts right now. Welcome to City Talk, where we launch serious investigations and not so serious investigations into what it is the people who work for the city of Pittsburgh do. Meet Bill Crean. He is the Superintendent of Street Operations for the Department of Public Works. Bill, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, John. It's good to be here.
So, Superintendent of Street Operations, that sounds like a wide, all-encompassing, giant responsibility.
It is pretty much. We oversee the street operations, obviously the servicing of litter cans, street sweeping, potholes, snow and ice control, overgrowth, litter. We work with the mayor's office on homeless issues, cleaning up homeless camps after they found them some help. Of
all of those responsibilities, is snow and ice your biggest nightmare?
Probably. Potholes is right up there. They run neck and neck.
So do you try to keep a low profile so that people still blame Guy Costa even though he no longer works for the city? You know?
No comment.
How did you develop the expertise to be in public works and a supervisor for that matter?
I started 35 years ago as a laborer out in the East End on Hamilton Avenue and just stuck with it. I didn't think I'd have a career in civil service, but I stuck with it and became a sweeper operator in the East End for probably 12 years. And I got a foreman job, and Bob O'Connor gave me the opportunity to be a street supervisor on the 6th Division, which was town in the Strip District and the North Shore, and that was kind of baptism by fire because we had the Steelers one that I got in October, the Steelers one in January.
Oh boy.
Then we had the G20, September of 9, and then February of 10 was the big snowstorm. So it was baptism by fire.
You had just become,
a lot of fun.
Wow, holy cow.
We had the All-Star game too in 06. So
I remember all of those events.
Yeah.
I remember not being able to get where I wanted to go because of the G20.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your responsibility within that, the G20 frame of reference?
Well, I had town as an area of responsibility, but obviously the feds came in and took everything over, and we just acted as a support mechanism, placing Jersey barriers, other barricades, loaded dump trucks with sand to place in strategic locations.
It sounds like the Department of Public Works, from the few people I've interviewed, is one of the few departments where you can work your way up from the bottom.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
Is that because you really have to have a hands-on knowledge in order to be able to do your job?
It really helps.
Higher up the ladder?
Yeah, it really helps. And Mayor Peduto was very gracious to offer me this position as superintendent, which I...
And how long have you had it?
Since he took office in 14, so 5 years.
Okay. So anything else keep you up at night besides is it going to snow?
No, just Jimmy Fallon.
Or whatever's on.
Yeah, whatever's on.
No,
No, not much keeps me up.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from South Jersey, actually, originally, and I came here in '81.
What for, or how, why?
I met a young lady at the beach and followed her here. I wasn't working, and I got a job as a laborer, summer laborer in Highland Park. I worked two seasons as a seasonal, and then I was offered a full-time labor position.
So this wonderful lady, she is originally from Pittsburgh?
She is originally from Pittsburgh.
And as everyone knows, it's a law that if you marry someone who's from Pittsburgh, you have to live in Pittsburgh. You can't go. Yeah.
Correct. Even though I was at the beach, I was living in Ocean City, New Jersey, I had to leave that. We still go back every year.
Oh, do you? All right.
Yeah,
So you've worked a balance out.
Yes.
How long would you like to continue to do this? Is this the most challenging,
fun
job?
Yeah, I enjoy every day I work. I just love coming to work. There's always a different challenge. We're more supportive of public safety issues, as you know, the way of the world. So they're asking us for a lot of things. And every day.
Give us some examples.
Well, loaded dump trucks, like I said before, loaded dump trucks with sand and plows to secure an area for mass gatherings or crowds, parades. Parades is in my purview with special events. That's another thing I do, special events committee. Barricades, crowd safety, crowd fencing, we put that out for them.
How about that? Do you find yourself as just driving along and maybe you see a barricade that's a little out of place and you get out of your car and fix it yourself?
I do that in other cities, John. Yes, I do. Yes. I look in trash cans in other cities. I take note of the street cleaning signs and see how other things are done.
I interviewed someone from Innovation and Performance who designed a smart garbage can, so apparently now...
Matt?
Yes, Matt
Yeah,
Jacobs,
yeah.
so you don't have to go to them until they're full.
Correct.
And you know because of the sensors in them that they are full.
Right.
Or not.
Right, unless somebody shoves a pizza box in there, all the apartments on Butler Street bring down their trash from the night before and shove it in there. Then obviously they show red immediately.
So you know the trash habits of everybody in town.
Yes, I do. Carson Street, Butler Street, yes.
Who are the people who provide the most trash?
Butler Street's up there.
Okay.
South Highland is mainly, I'll say, driven by street litter, but Carson Street's up there too. Yeah,
So littering must drive you crazy too then,
yeah, big time.
because you're street cleaning, you were telling me.
Yes.
I know everybody knows the famous public service announcement with the Indian crying.
The
but
Native American.
Yes, the Native American, I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. But that's the last time anybody seemed to care about littering was Lady Bird Johnson's Keep America Beautiful campaign.
And we had,
Now the whole concern seems to have gone by the wayside.
yeah, Boris Weinstein from Shady Side was our litter czar. He put together some teams in different neighborhoods that we go out and have they have a trash Olympics every year. And the neighborhood who wins has the most, collects the most trash in a given window.
And you mentioned former Mayor Bob O'Connor, who was big on the Red Up
Yes.
team. What, if anything, can be done to get people to be more conscious about not littering?
I don't know. I don't know what the mindset is. I mean, I think we've gotten them to think about recycling. You know, they see the color blue by a can of some sort and they know it's recycling. But I don't know what prevents them from tossing a pop bottle out the window. I really don't.
And does it drive you crazy? Because it drives me crazy that people think cigarette butts are not litter for
correct,
some
yeah.
reason.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, we're going to brainstorm and figure this out eventually.
Okay. Yeah.
Bill
Look
Crean,
forward
thank you
to
so
it.
much for doing City Talk. Great talking to
bet,
you
John.
today.
Great to be here.
We'll be back with another interesting city employee in a moment. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Erica Strasburger, and I'm from Pittsburgh City Council District 8. I want the best for my son Evan and all of the kids in Allegheny County. That's why I am signing up for Fund My Future. By simply depositing $1 or more every month, parents are encouraged to save money to help make their child's dreams after high school come true. Just about any savings vehicle is eligible. I'm starting a PA 529 savings plan for my son. Enrolling in Fund My Future is as easy as 1. Enroll in Fund My Future at fundmyfuturepgh.org. 2. Establish a savings account for your child or an existing PA 529 savings plan or Keystone Scholars account. 3. Have fun making deposits. Call 412-440-YOU-WIN. That's 8946 for more details.
Welcome back to City Talk. Say hello to one of the human beings who mans the Office of Management and Budget, Patrick Cornell. Patrick, welcome to City Talk.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Office of Management and Budget, that sounds challenging, so many numbers, so complicated. Tell us about what you do.
Right. So the Office of Management and Budget is actually a bunch of different kind of organizations, groups together. So there's the operating budget. That's what I work on. That is day-to-day expenditures in the city. Salaries, benefits, professional services, electricity payments, water, with PWSA, our debt services, supplies. That's all your day-to-day expenses. And that's what I work on.
So that requires a lot of day-to-day attention, I'm assuming, as opposed to constant long-term planning, or is it both?
It's both. So what we do is we have to publish, as per the charter, an annual budget and a 5-year plan as well. So right now we are working on the 2020 budget, but that 5-year plan goes out through 2024.
How long have you been working on 5-year plans?
As long as I've been with the city.
So how close have they been to reality once you reach that 5 years?
It's variable. There are some things that are easier to anticipate. If we sign a contract with a vendor for a 4-year term, we know what that contract is going to be for most of the out years. When you get into something like salaries and positions, it's a little trickier, but we still have ways to anticipate what we'll need, and whether that's, we know that the mayor wants to have 5 extra positions in 3 years in this department or something like that. So we try to work it in and get as accurate as possible. But you know that when you get there, it's really the next year's budget that is the most important.
So the mayor says, we'd like to do this, and you'll say, we'll see if it's feasible within the current context of the revenue.
Correct.
And then the city council still has to approve it.
Yes. So there are essentially two budgets. The mayor's budget is presented to city council the second Monday in November, as per the charter. Except for Veterans Day, then it's the Tuesday. And then after that, City Council takes over. And from there, they have their own budget office. I believe you've interviewed Bill Crean already.
Yes.
So after that, he takes over, and the council members really have to do the work they want to see what changes they would need, and then pass it by the end of the year.
Is that your favorite time of year, when you've gotten the mayor's budget done, so the hard part is over?
Well, the hard part's over, but then we still have to get ready for the end of year kind of close of the books with the controller's office. You know, what contracts did we expect to spend, but maybe an invoice came late, so we'll have to kind of roll it into January. So it's not just like hands off, we're done.
Does the controller's office audit you as you go, or?
So they're auditing all the spending.
Okay.
Yes, for the departments. Yeah.
Wow, so you have to please a lot of masters.
Yes, the way I like to think about it is we're a customer service office, but it's all internal. So unlike, you know, the council offices, which are working directly with constituents, or parks, which, you know, they're working with people in their parks and healthy active living centers and things like that, we're working strictly internal to the administration and council budget offices and controller.
I talked with an engineer the other day, and he said when he was little, he worked with Lego blocks all the time. Did you work with numbers a lot when you were a kid? Have you always been fascinated by mathematics?
So I've always had an inkling for numbers, yes. I was doing well with it in high school. When I got to Pitt for undergrad, I majored in mathematics and economics, and that kind of laid a good foundation. You know, I'm not using just pure math. A lot of it is, it's all Excel, really, but a lot of it is more sussing out details and you know, intricacies that I wouldn't have really just been able to do with straight addition, subtraction, multiplication, things like that.
If the mayor wants X, Y, and Z, but you have to say no, at least initially, unless they find more revenue, is that a lousy part of the job?
Luckily, that's what my boss gets to do. But no, it's always hard to say it's really not.
Sorry,
in
the
budget.
money's not there. Yeah.
You know, what I tell my department directors and chiefs is, if there is something that you really need, and the mayor and chief of staff are on board, you have to make the hard decision. You know, what are you going to cut elsewhere? Sometimes it could be easy. You know, well, we thought we wanted to buy, you know, this workstation. Well, maybe that can wait for another year. If that frees up the money, then, you know, it's easy to be a little more flexible. So the budget guidelines we have are for a fixed dollar spend amount. There is some wiggle room as you go through the year. We typically move things around within a department, you know, closer to the end of the year. If, for example, your supplies money is short, but there's a little bit of extra money in professional services, council can approve a transfer to move that over. Usually once or twice a year, we move money between departments. It's called an interdepartmental transfer. That's only for, you know, extenuating circumstances.
Is it a tough call, for example, if they want to purchase a machine for the print shop, and one is better quality, but one is cheaper and might be adequate? Which one to go with?
So a lot of that would fall into procurement, which is one of the other divisions of the Office of Management and Budget. They're the team that works for RFPs, you know, requests for proposals, where you're really looking for the best quality product at the best price for the city. You know, also commodity bidding. That's what the procurement team does.
Now, do your eyes glaze over sometimes, or do you love this stuff and every day is a joy?
It's generally not tedious. What I really like about my job is that it's different every day. So this morning, for example, I was doing some costing analysis for the Bureau of Emergency Medical Services, working with Chief Romano, to kind of look at what costs would be for heart monitors and defibrillators. I haven't done that before, so it's the first time I've done that. I've had to learn about heart monitors and defibrillators, but it's interesting to look at what sort of requests would come in and how it might impact the plan moving forward. You know, other days it could be making sure that my rosters are correct because we don't want to accidentally, you know, hire people. We don't want to approve hires if there's no opening in the roster. It really is different every day, and that's what I like.
Interesting. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Ellicott City, Maryland, 20 minutes from Baltimore, 45 from DC. I ended up at Pitt for undergrad. I left Pittsburgh for a brief year. I taught English in France, and then I came back to Pitt, the Graduate School of Public International Affairs, for my Master in Public Administration.
And does that lend itself toward providing a foundation for what you do now?
Absolutely. In fact, one of my first professors was Paul Legger, who was a former director of finance. He's the one who actually taught me through that course at Gispia about financial management.
And are you still a Ravens fan?
Absolutely.
And you're not a Steelers fan?
No. You're wearing purple today.
I understand. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That was a poor choice as a result.
Yeah. It's I don't think it's that pressing of a concern these days. When I first moved to Pittsburgh, it was a little more contentious, but you know.
Have you at all picked up the Pittsburgh accent, you know, accidentally even?
I don't think so. If anything, I think I gained a little bit of a Maryland accent, you know, to try and differentiate myself maybe, but I don't think so.
How's the differentiation working out for you?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
All right, that's fine. And it's not a court of law. You don't have to answer every question. And you don't have a car.
I don't have a car.
But you just moved to Beachview.
I just moved to Beachview. I will be taking the T in and out and everywhere I need to go. A few years ago when I was living in Mount Washington, my car died. And my dad made a bet with me that I couldn't live without a car. And then it's been 3 years. So I think I won that bet.
So you've become greener than thou.
Yeah.
You're Mr. Green.
I do what I can, and I'm wearing green. Yeah, I do what I can.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. Back in a moment with yet another scintillating citizen, employee for that matter. Stay with us.
Since 1982, City Channel Pittsburgh has been your home for your government. Over the last half-decade, we've edited over 1,000 press conferences, budget forums, award ceremonies, PSAs, and interview programs. Our staff has over 6 decades of combined experience, and they televise over 150 city council meetings annually from right here in our control room. And when seemingly nothing else is going right, we can always fall back on our training from college. We are City Channel Pittsburgh, and we've got your government covered.
Welcome back to City Talk. Say hello to a guest I first met 20 years ago on a different talk show when she began to specialize in taking care of animals and animal abuse crimes for the Pittsburgh Police Department. Christine Luffey is with us. Christine, thanks so much. Should I call you Officer Luffey?
You can call me anything you want.
All right. I'll interchange between Christine and Officer. So how did you begin that? Because when you first joined the force, there wasn't an opening that said animal abuse specialist needed. You were just applying to be a Pittsburgh police officer.
That's correct. That's correct. And what happened is I've loved animals my entire life, and I've always cared about them and their well-being, and I want to make sure they're okay and people are treating them okay. And right when I was a new officer, I was put into a program. It was the Community-Oriented Police Program. And back then we had the opportunity to be really creative. And I was assigned to the Banksville community back then, which I really enjoyed. But in the creativity, I started off having a concert in the street. We called it Paws Jam, to raise money for animals in the shelter. And I'm really, really proud of that. And it grew from there. It grew from there. What we did next is, because of the weather, we never know what Mother Nature is going to dump upon us. So we decided to go with a bingo. And I started having a bingo. And in fact, we just celebrated our 21st bingo last March. And we're gearing up for another bingo in 2020 in March as well. So I was basically given a case by the commander that I worked with many years ago. I guess it's over 20 years ago. And his name is Bill Crean, and he handed me a case. And the case was pretty serious, and really those crimes unfortunately weren't really looked into and investigated But when I
An
started,
animal had been abused?
yes, yes. There was a woman in the Esplin community, which is the city of Pittsburgh, right near McKees Rocks, and her cat was found in a neighbor's rafters in the basement, and it was injured. It turns out it was shot with a BB gun 21 times, so it had 21 BBs in its body.
And we talked about this earlier, so you took flyers all around the neighborhood and asked
I did.
tons and tons of people.
Well, yes, Commander Bochter had given me the case, and I thought, well, I'm going to do everything I can to possibly solve it. I wasn't a detective or anything like that, and I'm still not, but my heart's in the right place. And I wanted to see if something could be done about this. I know the people in Pittsburgh were really, really upset about this case. I mean, the animal, his name was Rowdy the cat, and he was severely abused. So I did. I worked on a Saturday, I made up flyers, I knocked on every door in the Esplin community, and we ended up getting a lead that day of a juvenile who was down at, I believe it's called Chartiers Creek, and a woman ran up to me when I started talking to her about the cat, and she says, you know, I just saw this kid. He had a BB gun and he shot a mallard. So basically we were able to break the case wide open, and we were able to arrest the juvenile.
And he got in trouble and went to court and was punished, and then years later you ran into him at a grocery store.
I did. This was last year. I go to Walmart a lot, and I buy a lot of my dog and cat food there. And I saw him after all these years, and the first interaction between the two of us, I mean, he's really hard looking at me, and I'm looking at me and thinking, is that him? So we're just kind of looking at each other. And the next time I went in, I knew it was him. I'm thinking, somebody's looking at me this hard. I know that this is the person that I arrested many years ago. And I saw him maybe a month later, and I said hello to him. And he said hello to me.
And so it wasn't hostile. Good for you.
Yeah.
So more recently, a very well-publicized case you were involved in was the guy with the alligators and a wide variety of all sorts of animals, reptiles, and tell us about that. And what all did he have?
Well,
Alligator, I know.
Well, there were actually, let me think, one alligator was loose. That's how we really got on to him, that he was breeding, buying, and selling reptiles. So one alligator got loose in the Beachview community, and we ended up finding out that that alligator belonged to him. So from there, we went up and we decided that we're going to try to talk to him first. So we knock on the door and we speak with him, and I said to him, you know, I believe that this is your alligator, and he says, yes, it's my alligator, and he lets us come into the house. We go into the house, and we saw, let's see, I think there were 3 more alligators, I believe, that day. 2 of them were in storage bins, like you would put a Christmas tree or
Right.
ornaments in. And I thought, this just isn't right. I mean, I am no expert in reptiles.
I understand.
But I knew that what we were seeing wasn't good for the pets.
But you had to bring some people in from the Pittsburgh Zoo to clarify whether or not they were being abused.
Right. The day that we obtained the search warrant, we reached out to a very nice gentleman over at the Pittsburgh Zoo who specializes in the care of reptiles. He joined us, and we went in, and what we did is, when you're dealing with so many animals, I learned through my career that it's best just to start everybody together. Let's start with one, and let's just go through down the list. So everything's clear, we have the best notes, we make the best case, and we can actually individualize each animal. So we did that, and I was happy that everything that I thought was wrong, he was saying was wrong. So we ended up removing 32 animals that day.
So alligators and what other kinds? It was snakes?
There were a couple snakes, there were lizards, I believe tarantulas, if I can remember
That
right.
sounds right, yeah.
Bunnies.
Oh, I'd forgotten about the bunnies.
Yeah, I think there were 6 rabbits there.
Okay.
There were hairless rats. I believe they were being used for food.
Do you have any idea to what motivates a person to want to
Listen.
gather a collection like this?
If I would know the answer to these questions,
You could solve the crimes before they happen.
this world would be changed, trust me, because what we're seeing is pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Do you feel, are there fewer cases of animal abuse reported, or unfortunately more these days?
You know, it's funny that you asked that, because last week I ended up making an arrest. The person had turned herself in for abusing a dog, and I'm juggling at this time, I'm juggling 4 other cases. and they're serious. I mean, they're arrestable cases where the law says that you can't do this
To an
a-
animal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I just wish people would treat others the way they want to be treated.
I'm wondering if there's more abuse or people are more aware of it and there's more reporting.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have to say to anyone out there that I'm so happy that they're standing up for defenseless creatures who can't speak for themselves.
And I had asked you previously if you see animal abuse or something you think might be animal abuse, if you should call 311, and you told me no, you should call 911.
Right. If you see something happening right then and there, and you think that an animal is suffering, we would prefer you to call 911, because that way an officer can get there, whether they're experienced or not experienced. They may be able to see that there is a problem here or refer it to the proper channels.
So I know that obviously it's very tragic to see all these cases of animal abuse, but the fact that you're able to stop some of it in time and rescue some of the animals, I'm assuming you find your career very rewarding.
Oh, it's completely rewarding. That's why I'm still working, honestly. I love what I do. I love making a difference, and somebody has to speak up for these defenseless creatures. They really do.
Do you know if this is unique in police departments around the country, or do a lot of them have officers who specialize in
A
animals?
lot of police departments across the country have specialized units that concentrate on this crime. Because, you know, I'm looking over all the cases, all these over 20 years of experience, and I'm thinking, you know, that's a really terrible thing to do. When you hurt or kill or maim a defenseless animal or a child, I mean, that says something about you as a person. There's something that's just not right. You're lacking empathy, you're lacking compassion, and what you're doing is wrong, and we're just not going to continue to allow you to do this.
That's horrible. Do you see any rays of hope in terms of awareness being raised and perhaps lessening the number of these crimes?
You know, I do. I do see hope. I really do. You know, I think I appreciate you having me here today, because there's the message is that I say at every community meeting that I speak to, every meeting I say, if you see something, please, please say something. And when you're dealing with animals, people need to know that many animals suffer in silence. They can't make a 911 call. They can't open a cage to let themselves out. They can't tell anyone that somebody is hurting them.
Officer Christine Luffey, thank you so much for doing City Talk.
You're welcome.
Really
Thank
nice to see
you.
you
Nice
again.
to see you
We'll
too.
come back in 20 years and we'll do it again.
Okay.
All right. That is this edition of City Talk. We will see you next time.